You ever have one of those moments where time doesn't just slow down, it holds you hostage? For me, it was a dinner table. One chair empty, one candle half melted, one fork suspended mid-air in my shaking hand. That fork never hit the plate. Because just before I took the first bite of the mushroom risotto, I spent 2 hours perfecting from a recipe blog that had zero helpful photos. My wife, Talia, looked at me like she was staring through a glass door. "I can't pretend anymore," she said. That's how it started. No yelling. No affair caught in the act. Just the softest betrayal, delivered over ceramic dishes from our wedding registry. Her voice was too calm, like she'd rehearsed it during her commute, or maybe in someone else's passenger seat. I blinked. Twice. Can't pretend what? She didn't fidget. Didn't apologize. Just straightened the sleeves of her crimson blouse, the one I'd never seen before, and looked me square in the face. "I've been seeing someone else. I didn't plan it. It just evolved." Evolved. Like betrayal was some sort of Pokemon. I sat there, fork still suspended, brain stuck in the spinning hourglass of denial. I remember every tick of the wall clock behind her, every flicker of the candle flame, every stupid detail except the one I wanted, a reason. Her next line? "I'll never forget it. And I think we should still go to the party tonight." I laughed. Honest to God, I laughed. That insane, silent kind of laugh where your body shakes, but no sound comes out. My ribs hurt. My soul hurt. "You just told me you've got a boyfriend, and now you want to go mingle with people who think we're happily married?" She shrugged. Shrugged. Like I asked her if we were low on olive oil. "He's going to be there," she added. "So I figured you should know." That was when the fork dropped. I didn't throw it. I just released it. Like my hand stopped believing in dinner. Or gravity. Or marriage. I stood up, still wearing the stupid button-down she got me for Valentine's last year, the one with tiny foxes on the cuffs. I thought it was quirky. She said it was cute. Now I just felt like a clown in a circus I didn't audition for. "Talia," I whispered, my voice hoarse, "why now?" And she said, "I swear to everything. Because I want to be honest moving forward." Moving forward. As if there was a forward. As if this was a road trip and she just wanted to change the playlist. I left the house with nothing but my keys and a warped sense of dignity. I didn't even take my phone. I didn't know where I was going. But I knew one thing. If we were still going to that party, it wasn't going to end the way she thought. I walked until my legs burned. Past the old pharmacy that had been turned into a vape bar. Past the shuttered bakery that still smelled like flour. Past the park where we used to argue quietly so the joggers wouldn't hear. I didn't have a destination, just an instinct, like my body was trying to outrun my own humiliation. It was cold out, but I didn't feel it. Not really. I think my nervous system had gone offline, staging a quiet protest while the rest of me processed what had just happened. She was seeing someone else. And not just seeing. Inviting him into the same air, the same wine-sipping social circle where people still called us that perfect couple. Talia always cared about appearances. She never posted messy photos. Never left the house with wet hair. So when she said he'd be at the party, I understood the real message. She wasn't confessing. She was transitioning. Soft-launching the affair in front of witnesses. And I was supposed to clap politely. That thought boiled in my chest. I ended up at my friend Reese's place. We hadn't spoken in over a year. A falling out over something stupid involving a poker game and a lie about who called who a narcissist. But I buzzed his apartment anyway. He opened the door wearing gym shorts and one sock, holding a half-eaten burrito. "Nolan," he blinked. "Did someone die?" "Almost," I said. He didn't ask questions. Just waved me in, pointed to the couch, and tossed me a beer without a word. That's the thing about old friends. They may be terrible at staying in touch, but they're great in emergencies. I told him everything. Every word. Every fork detail. Even the fox-cuffed shirt. When I got to the part about her saying we should still go to the party, Reese leaned back and gave me a look I hadn't seen in years. The "you already know what you need to do" look. "Go," he said. "Excuse me. You need to go to that party," he said. "But not with her. Not as the guy she's cheating on. You need to walk in as the man she underestimated." I stared at him. "I don't even have a plan," I muttered. He grinned. "You don't need a plan. You just need an entrance." That night, I didn't just go to the party. I arrived solo. Clean-shaven. Different cologne. Dark suit I hadn't worn since my cousin's wedding. Tailored so tight I could barely breathe, but I looked 10 pounds more competent. The ballroom was packed. Crystal chandeliers, soft jazz. Too many people pretending they weren't judging each other. The Winters, her rich employers, were working the room like politicians. I hovered in the doorway for half a second, just enough for heads to turn. People whispered. Some waved. A few looked surprised. But no one looked more shocked than Talia. She was already there, standing near the bar in a gold dress I'd never seen before. Her eyes locked on me, then immediately flicked to the man beside her, tall, lean, pretending to laugh at something on his phone. I recognized him. Of course I did. Jasper Mahler, her co-worker. The same guy who once asked me if I ever got bored being married so young. Talia opened her mouth like she was about to say something, but I turned away. I didn't storm over. I didn't cause a scene. I walked toward the opposite end of the room, calm, silent, and started talking to people she never expected me to know. The head of marketing, the Winter matriarch, even her old team lead, who once told me I should have been in branding. I smiled. I listened. I even made a toast when asked. I wasn't Nolan the neglected husband anymore. I was Nolan the mystery. Nolan the maybe he's doing better than her. And from across the room, I could feel her unraveling. She thought I'd fall apart. But the real party hadn't even started yet. I never knew silence could feel like applause until I walked past Talia and her new +1 and didn't even flinch. I didn't look angry. I didn't look broken. I looked unbothered. And that absolutely shattered her. I could see it in the way she twisted the stem of her wine glass like it was her lifeline. That guy, Jasper, didn't know who I was at first. Just stared like I was some intern who got lost on the way to valet. But then I saw his posture change. I recognized that moment too well. The one where the man realizes the guy he just laughed past is actually the husband. The husband. I kept making rounds. I didn't say anything stupid. Didn't drink too much. I played it cool. Everyone I spoke to looked at me like I was some secret they'd overlooked. I cracked subtle jokes. I complimented a guy's cufflinks. I even helped one of the Winter's kids who spilled juice on their velvet chair. Offered my pocket handkerchief like some well-bred drama character I barely recognized. And then, Jasper started following me. At first, it was subtle. I'd move to a new group. He'd linger a few feet away. I'd go refill my drink. He'd suddenly need more ice. The guy who stole my wife apparently didn't like being ignored. The moment I stepped toward the hallway to find the restroom, I heard footsteps behind me. He caught up just outside the marble-tiled bathroom and called out, too loudly, "Hey, Nolan, right?" I didn't respond right away. Just turned slowly, blinked once. "Sorry, you're..." He chuckled like we were in on a joke together. "Jasper, I work with Talia." "Oh," I said. "So you're the promotion." His smile twitched. "Look, man, I didn't come here to cause problems." "Then maybe don't show up to a party with a married woman," I said, stepping closer. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't even look angry. But something about my tone made his shoulders tighten. "She said you guys were done." "Funny," I replied. "She said that after dinner, while wearing her ring." He looked around the hallway like someone would swoop in and rescue him. No one did. Then he said something that made my brain light up like a forest fire. "You should be grateful, honestly. She's been unhappy for a long time. She just never told you." That was it. That was the line that snapped whatever was left of the duct tape holding my heart together. I stepped back, nodded like I agreed, and smiled. "You're right," I said. "She didn't tell me. But you know what? That makes two of us she's been lying to." He blinked. "What are you talking about?" I tilted my head and whispered. "She told me she broke it off with you last week. Said she was choosing me. Guess that was another lie, huh?" Now, that wasn't true. But watching Jasper's face turn pale made me realize something. He didn't trust her either. Not fully. He might have stolen her, but he still didn't believe he could keep her. "She said that?" he asked, suddenly quiet. "Yeah, I lied again. And I wasn't going to come tonight. But I wanted to see which one of us she lied to harder." I walked into the restroom and left him standing there, half boyfriend, half backup plan, now questioning everything. When I came back out, they weren't standing together anymore. And Talia? She looked like someone had just whispered a death sentence in her ear. The cracks had started. But the collapse? That was still coming. I had no plan. I wasn't trying to burn her life down or stage some grand drama. But when a man is pushed too far, he doesn't need a plan. He just needs a spark. And Talia gave me one. After I left Jasper in the hallway, shaken and questioning everything, I walked back into the ballroom just in time to catch Talia watching me from across the room. But it wasn't the confident gaze of someone in control anymore. It was panicked. Her posture was stiff. She whispered something to her friend and pretended to laugh. It didn't land. I wasn't supposed to be calm. I wasn't supposed to smile and blend in and look free. I saw Mr. Winters, yes, the Richard Winters, standing near the wine display, looking bored out of his mind while some investor's son droned on about crypto. Talia adored Mr. Winters. She once spent an entire weekend designing a pitch deck just to impress his wife. Her promotion, her public image, her entire corporate identity orbited the Winters' social approval. So I walked up, not to make a scene, just to say a sentence. He noticed me first, offered a polite nod. Nolan, yes? Talia's husband. I said smoothly. Though I imagine HR hasn't updated the spreadsheets yet. He chuckled awkwardly, clearly not ready for the honesty. Ah, I see. Well, you're still welcome here. You look sharp. Appreciate that, I said, lowering my voice just enough to create tension. But I thought it would be good for you to know, off the record, that some of your executives are getting a little too comfortable bringing plus ones from within the company. Winters's face didn't change right away, but his eyes sharpened. I added, without smiling, I'm sure the ethics policy hasn't changed since last quarter. Just figured you'd want to get ahead of anything messy. I patted his arm lightly. Anyway, beautiful event. Thank your wife for the roses on the tables. They're stunning. And I walked away. Did I mention Jasper was technically one of her superiors? I probably should have. I didn't need to yell. I didn't need to make a scene. I just left a crack in the foundation, and the house would do the rest. By the time I circled back to grab another drink, the shift had begun. Talia was talking fast to someone from HR. Her expression had curdled into something brittle and forced. Jasper was standing by the art display alone, checking his phone, then checking it again. The wine was suddenly bitter. The music felt louder. Everyone smiled too hard. I took a sip, leaned against the far wall, and waited. A woman I didn't recognize approached me. Older, elegant, probably mid-50s. She smiled like she'd already heard everything. I assume you're the reason she looks like her dress is choking her, she said. Excuse me. I'm Beth Winters, she added, tapping the rim of her champagne flute. And that girl? She's been walking on air for weeks. I assumed it was love. Turns out it's guilt. I raised an eyebrow. Don't worry, she continued. Whatever happens next, she asked for it. I didn't say a word. Just clinked her glass lightly, nodded once, and watched as the Winter Empire's eyes turned slowly, deliciously, toward my wife, or rather, the woman who used to be. And just like that, she wasn't the most powerful person in the room anymore. The funny thing about watching someone drown in a room full of air is how quiet it is. No thrashing, no screams, just slow-motion panic wearing a smile. That was Talia now, shoulders tight, glass untouched, eyes darting from face to face like she was calculating how fast a lie could travel before the truth caught up. I didn't move. Didn't need to. The more I did nothing, the more everyone around her started noticing the way she clutched her wine glass like it might erase the stain on her reputation. And Jasper? He was backing away from her like she had suddenly become radioactive. Reese texted me from across the room. Bro, did you just ruin her entire year with one sentence? I replied, not yet. Because this wasn't revenge. Not fully. This was exposure. Slow, brutal exposure. The kind that made you watch your carefully curated life peel apart one thread at a time in front of all the people who once admired you. A junior associate named Courtney came up to me and whispered, wait, were they really, like, together? I shrugged and said, does it matter? The Winters know now. And just like that, I watched her eyes light up with scandal. The kind that dances down hallways before anyone even says it out loud. Then, as if someone hit an invisible cue, Talia began to make her move. I saw her pace shift. Her expression settled into a shape I'd seen only once before. The day she got out of a speeding ticket by crying at the curb, then winked at herself in the mirror afterward. Calculated vulnerability. Measured desperation. She started across the ballroom. I didn't move. I knew what this was. She reached me near the corner column, just out of earshot from the main crowd, and put her hand lightly on my arm. Nolan, she said, voice soft like a silk noose. Can we talk? I looked down at her fingers. The ring was gone. Not just her wedding band. Even the tiny turquoise ring her sister gave her after college. Her fingers looked empty. Now you want to talk? I said calmly. Sure. Why not? The floor's all yours. She took a breath. I didn't mean for tonight to go this way. I didn't mean to hurt you. Stop, I said. Don't say that. You did mean to hurt me. That's why you waited until we were dressed and headed to a party. That's why you told me right before the cameras, the handshakes, the networking. So I'd be forced to play along. Smile. Nod. Protect your little illusion. But guess what? I stepped forward. You picked this night. Not me. Her face twitched. I could see her scrambling behind her eyes. I never wanted it to be like this. Jasper, he said you made things up, that you told Mr. Winters lies. Do you think he believed me? I said with a slow smile. He didn't have to. All he had to do was look across the room and see you. She stared at me like she just realized I wasn't bluffing, that I was no longer the guy who apologized for taking up space, the guy who stayed quiet so she could shine. And right then, in that fragile, perfect silence, someone called her name from behind. Not a friend, not a coworker. It was Beth Winters, and she didn't sound happy. Talia turned her head, just slightly, enough to show her neck tensed like a pulled wire. Go ahead, I said. She's been looking for you. Talia hesitated. For the first time all night, her mask cracked. Her lip trembled, just slightly. I thought we were done, she said, almost as if to herself. We are, I answered. But your night isn't. She turned and walked toward Beth, heels slower now. Like she already knew she was walking toward a closed door. I didn't follow. I had nothing left to prove. Because the best revenge is letting them watch themselves fall. The party didn't end with an explosion. It ended with a whimper. No dramatic slaps, no shouting matches in the hallway, no glasses thrown. Just a slow, humiliating fade out. The music still played. The servers still passed around truffle-stuffed shrimp. But people were no longer asking how Talia was doing. They were watching what she would do next. Beth Winters didn't scold her in front of the crowd. She didn't need to. She simply pulled her aside, spoke calmly, and walked away. That's the kind of power the Winters held. Quiet influence that whispered across the entire company without a single email. Talia returned to the center of the room, but the center no longer belonged to her. She tried to talk to Jasper again, but he stepped back. Once, twice, then excused himself to get some air and didn't return. Even her friend Krista, the one who once swore they'd be bridesmaids at each other's funerals, suddenly had to check in with the interns. Nobody wanted to be near someone whose spotlight had turned into a searchlight. I left before the music stopped. I didn't gloat. I didn't say goodbye. I walked out with the same calm expression I walked in with, knowing that the damage wasn't just emotional now. It was professional, reputational, and irreversible. What I didn't expect was the message waiting on my phone when I got in the Uber. From her. Please don't leave yet. Can we talk? I stared at the screen. It buzzed again. I need you. That part almost made me laugh. Not because it was funny, but because it was cruel. The kind of cruelty you only recognize once your heart is numb enough to feel it. She needed me now. Not when she started seeing Jasper. Not when she broke the news right before the party. Not when she asked me to pretend. But now that it all slipped through her fingers. I didn't reply, but I did stay nearby. Parked across the street in the Uber with the engine running and the driver nodding politely like he hadn't heard my whole life collapse through the Bluetooth speaker earlier. About 15 minutes later, she came out of the building. Alone. She stood near the valet booth, holding her coat like she wasn't sure whether to wear it or bury herself inside it. Her makeup was still intact, but something about her looked 10 years older. The posture, the silence, the way her heels clicked unevenly like her rhythm was off. A black sedan pulled up. Not her car. Not Jasper's either. A company vehicle, from what I could tell, probably called in by Beth. She stepped toward it slowly, paused, and looked around. Maybe she expected to see me. Maybe she thought I'd be waiting with open arms because that's what I always did. But not tonight. She got into the back seat, and the driver closed the door behind her. I watched as the taillights pulled away, turned down Fifth Avenue, and disappeared into the night. She didn't know it yet, but that car wasn't taking her home. Not to our home, anyway. Because while she was busy making introductions at the party, I was making decisions. And by the time she tried to use her key, the locks would be changed. It was 2:12 a.m. when I heard the first rattle. I was sitting on the couch in complete darkness, the TV off, the hallway light dimmed behind me. I didn't move. Didn't say a word. I just listened to the sound of her keys trying to fit into the front lock that had been changed 6 hours earlier. I don't know why I didn't get up. Maybe I wanted her to feel the moment in full, the slow realization that control had finally slipped out of her hands, that the man she thought would always stay, always forgive, always wait, had finally made a decision without her. The doorknob twisted again. Then came the knock. Soft at first, then louder, then a pause. Nolan, her voice. Muffled, confused. Why can't I get in? I waited. Another knock. I think the lock's jammed. Did something happen? I stood up slowly, walked to the hallway, and leaned against the wall where she couldn't see me through the peephole. My heart was thudding, not from fear or anger, but from the sheer finality of it. The same way a courtroom gavel must sound when it hits the wood for the last time. She knocked again. Harder now. Nolan, seriously. This isn't funny. Funny. That word. That was rich coming from the woman who brought her affair to a party and thought I'd wear a smile like a rented tux. I waited one more beat, then unlocked the top deadbolt, the one above the one I'd changed, and opened the door just 2 inches. Enough to see her face, but not let her inside. Her eyes were bloodshot, hair pulled back hastily. She had clearly been crying. Or maybe performing. Nolan, she exhaled in relief. Thank God. Something's wrong with my key. I changed the locks, I said quietly. She blinked, her mouth opening slightly like her brain hadn't caught up. You what? I changed the locks. A beat passed. Why would you? She stopped herself, then switched tones. I think we need to talk. Tonight, it got out of control. I didn't expect Jasper to. Jasper? I said, almost laughing. You think this is about Jasper? She paused. Isn't it? No, Talia. This is about you. About the choices you made months before tonight. About how I stayed silent while you slipped away, night by night, excuse by excuse. You didn't just cheat. You planned your exit. And you thought I'd help you pack. She swallowed hard. You can't just lock me out. This is still my house. I said. Not anymore. That part wasn't just spite. While she was at the party playing Queen of the Evening, I filed an emergency motion with my lawyer. Ownership of the condo was solely in my name. It always had been. Her name was never added. It was one of those things we kept saying we'd get around to. She never insisted. And now, now it mattered. I handed her an envelope through the gap. She didn't take it at first, so I laid it on the mat. What is that? She asked. Copies of everything, I said. Lease termination. Notification of property transfer. A letter from my attorney. There's also a post-it with the name of a hotel I prepaid for 3 nights. You'll find your suitcase already waiting in the room. Her voice cracked. You packed my things. Not everything, I said. Just the stuff that belonged to you. Turns out that list was shorter than I thought. She wiped her cheek angrily. You're throwing me out in the middle of the night. No, I said. You walked out a long time ago. I'm just making it official. She stood there, stunned, then whispered, I didn't think you had this in you. That's the problem, Talia. I replied, slowly closing the door. You never really saw me. Only what I was convenient for. The door clicked shut. And this time, she didn't knock again. It's strange how quiet life becomes once the noise is gone. Not silence. I don't mean that. I mean the noise. The constant emotional static that hums in the background when you're with someone who makes you feel like you're never quite enough. It doesn't leave all at once. It fades, piece by piece, until one morning you wake up and realize you're breathing differently. It took time. The first few days after that night were disorienting. I kept expecting her to call again, to show up at the door, to send friends or coworkers or someone to guilt me into opening that chapter again. But she didn't. Instead, I got quiet. Reese stayed with me for a few nights. He brought beer, bad TV, and a lot of unsolicited advice. And for once, I let him. I needed noise, but not her kind. The human kind. The kind that doesn't take from you just by existing. I went back to cooking. Not risotto, not yet. That one's going to sting for a while. But pancakes, omelets, stuff that smelled like freedom. I opened the windows more. Played music again. Read books without rereading the same sentence 20 times because I was subconsciously wondering what lie she was telling that day. Work felt lighter. Even my manager commented on it. You're sharper lately, he said. Whatever you're doing, keep doing it. I didn't tell him that whatever I was doing involved unlearning a version of love that had kept me in the background of my own life. Then came the email. Not from her. From HR at her company. They wanted a statement. Apparently, Jasper was being transitioned out, and there were ethics review procedures underway. I sent a professional, emotionless reply. I didn't throw her under the bus. I didn't need to. The wheels were already turning. Weeks passed. And then, one sunny Sunday morning, I came back from the farmer's market. Yes, I became that guy, and found her on the front step, sitting there like the last chapter of a book I'd already finished. She stood up when she saw me. No makeup, no designer coat, just jeans, a sweater, and eyes that didn't know what to say. Hey, she said, small. I didn't answer right away. I'm not here to beg, she continued. I just wanted to say I'm sorry. For everything. I nodded once. That was all she was getting. I didn't realize what I had, she whispered. Not until I saw what you looked like, without me. That hurt more than I expected. Because deep down, I used to wish she'd say something exactly like that. Back when it might have mattered. I hope you're doing okay, she added. Really? I am, I said quietly. Better than okay. And I meant it. Because that week, I'd met someone. Not in a rebound way. Not in a rush. Just unexpectedly. A bookstore near the corner of Ashby and 6th. We reached for the same novel. She laughed. I apologized. She said, you look like you needed the win more than I did. Her name is Maeve. She has a dog named Clementine and an allergy to almonds. She listens when I speak. And when she smiles, it feels like sunlight, not performance. I didn't tell Talia any of that. Some chapters deserve to close quietly. She stepped back, gave me one last look, the kind that says, I know I lost, without the words, and walked away. This time, I didn't watch her go. I opened the door, set my groceries down, and turned on the record player. The song? Something soft. Something warm. Because finally, I was no longer the background character in my own story. I was the beginning of a new one.